Welcome to Concrete Block. I'm your host, Walter. Today, we're diving into a couple of intriguing stories that have been making headlines. First up, let's talk about the latest developments in the world of technology and politics. The Trump Organization has been promoting its new wireless service, Trump Mobile, along with a mid-range Android smartphone called the T1 Phone 802. However, as of now, the phone is nowhere to be found, despite initial promises of an August or September release. Our team has been following this story closely, and it appears that customers who paid a $100 deposit for the device are still waiting for their phones. The Trump Mobile website initially stated that the phone would arrive in September, but with no update on the release date, many are left wondering if the device will ever see the light of day. On the other hand, some experts argue that this delay might not be entirely unexpected, given the complexities of launching a new wireless service and smartphone. They point out that the Trump Organization has a history of ambitious projects, and sometimes these projects take longer than anticipated to come to fruition. Meanwhile, others are raising questions about the lack of transparency surrounding the Trump Mobile service and the T1 phone. Some have expressed concerns about the phone's American values marketing campaign, while others are skeptical about the device's specs and pricing. As we continue to follow this story, it's essential to consider multiple perspectives and separate fact from speculation. We'll keep a close eye on any updates regarding Trump Mobile and the T1 phone and provide you with balanced and accurate information as more details emerge. In other news, former President Donald Trump has been in the headlines recently due to his ongoing legal battles and political activities. However, today we're focusing on the tech aspect of his endeavors. We'll be exploring more stories like this one, examining the intersection of technology, politics, and business. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. We're diving into the world of trade and economics today as we explore the impact of tariffs on the average American household. According to recent calculations by Democratic lawmakers, these tariffs have cost households around $1,200 since President Trump took office. But what's behind this number, and how are tariffs affecting the economy as a whole? To break it down, tariffs are essentially taxes on imported goods, and they can have far-reaching consequences for both consumers and businesses. In the case of the U.S.-China trade war, tariffs have led to higher prices for everything from soybeans to steel. And while some argue that these tariffs are necessary to protect American industries, others claim that they're hurting the very people they're meant to help. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell recently weighed in on the issue, stating that the current overshoot on inflation is due in part to the administration's import taxes. However, he expects inflation to ease in the back half of 2026. Meanwhile, President Trump has announced a $12 billion aid package for American farmers who have been hit hard by China's boycott on U.S. soybeans. It's also worth noting that Canada is currently exempt from the full effect of U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods, although some sectors, such as steel and aluminum, are still subject to significant tariffs. And with the U.S. set to face midterm elections and a possible ruling by the Supreme Court on the lawfulness of these tariffs, it's clear that this story is far from over. As we continue to navigate the complex world of trade and economics, one thing is certain: the impact of tariffs will be felt by households and businesses across the country. Welcome back to Concrete Block. Today, we've been discussing various global events, and now it's time to shift our focus to a significant development in U.S.-Africa relations. The recent national security strategy unveiled by the U.S. has sparked intense debate, particularly with regards to its approach towards Africa. The 30-page document dedicates only 3 paragraphs to the continent, primarily focusing on raw materials. This new strategy marks a significant departure from previous U.S. policies, which had emphasized economic growth and development in Africa through initiatives like the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. AGOA, launched in 2000, allowed numerous African countries to export their products to the U.S. market duty-free. However, with its expiration at the end of September 2025, there's uncertainty about the future of U.S.-Africa trade relations. Experts argue that this shift could lead African countries to seek alternative partnerships and accelerate their own industrialization efforts, such as through the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA. The AFCFTA aims to create a vast continental market with reduced tariffs and bureaucracy, potentially boosting Africa's economic development. Meanwhile, the U.S. is also playing catch-up with China in terms of geostrategic influence on the continent. The Great Lakes region, particularly the conflict between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, has become a focal point for U.S. involvement. Despite negotiating a peace agreement, fighting continues in the resource-rich eastern Congo, highlighting the complexities of U.S. interests in the region. As we analyze these developments, it's essential to consider the perspectives of all parties involved. The US, China, and other global powers have significant stakes in Africa's resources and markets. However, it's crucial for African countries to maintain their agency and autonomy in navigating these complex relationships. Ultimately, the future of US-Africa relations will depend on how these dynamics unfold. As we continue to monitor these events, it's essential to prioritize fairness, balance, and accuracy in our understanding of this intricate landscape. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed.